So this is a given quadratic equation, but the problem here is that one gentle guy here is missing, right? So you have this one to be what, a number here, which is what, k. So we are going to determine the values of this number based on certain conditions. So let's have a look at the question. Now, from the question, this is what we are given to be the function, right? So this is what the quadratic equation, and then the next condition says that they have what, equal root. That is the key word here, right? So we have what, equal what, root, right? So what is the meaning of what, equal root here? So we have to understand this thing. So this will be our stepping stone for us to solve or determine the values of this one. When you say a quadratic equation, you have what, equal root, what it means is that this is what it means, right? So if you are saying maybe your father is a gentleman, so you should understand what I mean by your father is a gentleman. Whether he's tall guy, he's a very handsome, he's a fashion guy or something of that nature, right? So if you say that this quadratic equation has what, equal root, this is what it means, right? We hold on, take just a few seconds to understand this, right? So this will be the stepping stone for you to solve this type of question, that a quadratic equation has what, equal root. So I'll explain this in just a few seconds. Now, this thing has a special name. If you know the name of this thing, make sure that you give me the answer in the comment section below, right? So we are not interested in that name for now, but we are interested in how to use it. That is all, the key here. Now, once you have this, you just have to determine the values of the A, B, as well as C. Where are they coming from? They are coming from this portion, right? So they are coming from this portion, the quadratic equation. Now, this is the key. If they have equal roots here, then it means that everything here has to be equal to 0. That is the definition you must know. Is that okay? So a quadratic equation has equal root means that b squared minus 4ac has to be equal to 0. There's nothing more, nothing less, right? If you have a negative 0, which doesn't exist in this way, it's not accepted, right? So the most important thing, everything has to be equal to 0. And then this a, b, c are coming from the quadratic equation given to us. So here our a is always the number that is attached to the x squared here in this case, and then b is the one that is attached to the x, and then c is the constant here, right? So here we have our a to be 1, right? And then b to be negative 4, negative 8, and then c is equal to the constant or k as it is. This one is coming from a number that is attached to this one, right? So there's always 1 here, right? Without retain it. Okay, so since we have this one, you just have to solve everything and equate it to what, to 0, and find the values of the k. This is a very simple first. So you have our b squared, which is what, the negative 8, everything squared here, minus 4a, which is 1, and then multiply by the k, then equal to 0. So in solving this, you should have your k to be equal to, so this is what I'm having. I have a negative 8 squared here, and then this multiply that should give us 4k, right? So you have to solve this, and right, subtract what, 64 from both sides of the equation. So you have a negative 64, that is equal to negative 4k, right? So negative, divide both sides by what, negative 4, right? So negative 4 here, then you should have your k to be equal to 16, right? So the value of the k is equal to 6. The only key here is that you must understand that if a quadratic has equal roots, so this is what it means. Once you have this to be your k here, you are free to go, right? Okay, now let's look at the second part, whereby we rearrange this quadratic equation. So here's the second part of the question. So that says that this is the function, right? So this is the quadratic equation that we are having, right? So one thing you must understand here is that always look at the arrangement of the quadratic equation. In standard form or under normal circumstances, this guy has to come first, followed by this, and then finally this one, right? But look at something. They intentionally rearrange this thing for you to have the constant first, and then the b term as well as the a term here, right? Okay, so pay close attention. So you're told from the question that So we are told that this thing has what equal root. Now that we know the definition of being equal root is that what it means that you have the b squared and then minus 4ac, everything here equal to 0. So these are the definitions of this quadratic equation to be what equal, or to have what an equal root. So okay, now for us to determine the values of or is our duty to know exactly the values of the a as well as the value of the b and then the values of the c, for us to plug into this definition and find our constant down, right? So now, what is the a? What's the value? Maybe I guess you should pause the video and come back and come and check the solutions on this by writing the a, b, c down. Oh, congratulations if you've tried that, right? So here you have the a. A is always the number that is attached to what the x squared here, right? So a is what? A is k in this case, right? Which we don't know exactly what we are going to find, right? And then b is the one that is attached to the x. So b here is 12, right? So b is 12, and finally c is the constant, right? A landlord on itself, right? So you have a c to be 4. Right, so plugging this thing into the definition, we have a b squared, that is what 12 squared here, minus 4a. A is the key, and then multiply by the c. So c here is 4. Everything must be equal to 0. So you have this one to be the value of this one should be what 144, right? And then minus this guy multiplied by that should be 16k, and then everything equal to 0. Of course, you have to subtract 144 from both sides of the equation, so you have a negative 16k here. That should be equal to a negative 144. So here we are going to divide everything by what a negative 16, and then divide here by negative 16. So the value, this implies that the values of the k here should be equal to 9, right? So that should be equal to 9. So the value of the k here is equal to 9. Now, in some cases, what will happen if they give you a function like this? So assuming you are given a function like this, that's in this case we are having f of x that is equal to x squared minus x and then minus 6, right? So this is the function that we are given, and then they want us to find the minimum, right? So the mean and what the maximum of this function. Is that okay? So what it means here is that if you have a quadratic equation like this, we want to find the peak of the quadratic equation, which is in this case the maximum, right? So the maximum will be somewhere here. Is that okay? Or maybe the other way around, if you have a quadrant that opens up like this, so here will be the minimum, right? So without drawing this the graph, how can you determine the maximum and the minimum of a function in this case? You have a key. Is it the trick here is that always understand what to use and how to use it. That is my policy on the mathematics, right? So you always have to know, if you tell like this whiteboard marker here, I can use this one to write on the board here, it's accepted, right? It is a definition that you have to accept. Okay, if you want to know how to prove this thing, make sure that give me a comment in the comment section on something that you want to see. So the trick here is that you have to use one of method is b squared minus 4ac, everything divided by 4a, right? So this is one key here you can use to determine the maximum and what the minimum of graph. If you want to know this thing, make sure that you comment down below. Then I will do a video on something like this, right? So if you get some value, once again, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you have any questions.